is Anne, and I am a textile designer, crafter, educator, and I'm also helping other creative businesses with mentorship and guidance and resources. So I came to Sodbury Yarn Over last year and met lovely Joe and Debs, and I came along with my crochet kit business, Susie Jules. We talked about creating a pattern, and I said how I'd love to be involved in helping that, particularly because I was unable to attend as an exhibitor this year. So this is a really nice way for me to be able to contribute to the show in some way. So the original idea behind this pattern, and what Jo came to me was that she wanted something that people would be able to go away and make with at least just one skein of yarn. So that's what you can do with this. You can make a cowl and stitch it together and use that in one 100-gram skein if that's what you want to do. Because I'm a passionate educator, I'm a former primary school teacher, and I've naturally always wanted to share and teach people crafts. It was very important to me that this pattern had something to do with you kind of learning and building on your skills. So the idea is that I've called it a sampler because there are 4 different stitches that I'm teaching you to use in this pattern. The other important aspect that I wanted to include in this pattern was that it gave you some design ownership. So that's another thing that's really important to me, is it's showing people how you can take on creativity, be creative with your designs, and make adaptations and changes that can make something truly your own. So I'm going to show you a different range of different samples that I've made to give you a bit of an idea of what you could do with the pattern and with the yarns that you choose. Now the pattern was based on using 100-gram, 1 skein of Aran. I wanted to use an Aran weight because Aran is a nice in between, something a little bit thicker than a DK, not as thick as a chunky, but it's quite nice to work with, particularly if you're a beginner, because it makes it a little bit easier to see your stitches. So first off, this is a basic Aran weight yarn, and what I've done with this is repeat the pattern until the yarn ran out. So that's the first thing you can do. You can just keep going until you can see that you're not going to quite get that last row in. Depends on whether you like playing yarn chicken or not. And once you get to that end, you can just stop there and just see how long your cowl is. That's what I did with this particular Aran weight yarn, and when I wear it, you can see that it sort of falls slightly longer down. It's kind of just a nice length around, but it's not something that's neck hugging. It just sort of hangs and it's just a nice sort of wearing thing. Similarly, with this hand-dyed Aran weight yarn, similarly I kept going until I had no yarn left, and you can see this one hangs down in a similar way. So you could just have that hanging around however you want to. The difference is that with this one skein and with this particular weight, you can see that if I wanted to twist it and have it more as a neck warmer, it's not long enough for me to put it right around my neck. So these are the sorts of ones that you're perhaps just wearing almost as a kind of little accessory addition, colour pop, whatever you like there. I wanted to try it in some different other yarns, so some other yarns that I tried. This is a off-the-shelf Stylecraft yarn. This is Stylecraft Softy, and that's classed as a chunky yarn. So you can see in comparison that I didn't change the starting chain, but you can see in comparison, obviously naturally being a thicker yarn, it makes it a little bit wider. And with that width, you get something that's much higher up here. Again, I literally used the whole ball of yarn. I kept going until there's none left, and it's made something quite significantly shorter and taller. So if I just pop this on and show you this worn, this gives you more of like a neck warming type look. So it actually sits more up on my neck. But the nice thing with this particular yarn is it's still kind of light, even though it's a chunkier yarn. So it kind of actually drops down. It's got a nice drape to it. I wanted to try a standard chunky yarn, and a friend of mine has made this sample. I've not put it together, but this is purely with Stylecraft Special Chunky. You can see again, if I fold it in half, I've got a much shorter piece, and it is also very tall. So if you wanted to make something like this with a chunky yarn and not change any of the starting chains, you can see you'd end up with something quite chunky, and that you might maybe fold over and wear as a chunky thing. but you might want to experiment with a chunky yarn. And then lastly, I also made this design out of a DK yarn. This is the width of the DK yarn. I've used this really lovely James C. Brett Emotions yarn, which has got this variegating change in it, just because I wanted to see how the design looked as in changes of colour, which is really lovely. But you can also see from the length that I have not made this as a cowl. I've decided to just keep going. So number one, this is DK. So in comparison, if I just get my Aran one back, comparison in width, I've not changed the starting chain or anything. I've not changed the pattern anyway other than the yarn, and you can see the comparison a little bit thinner. But I've then also kept going. So that's another option that you can do with whatever yarn you choose, is to not actually stitch it together. So if you do have more than one skein, you could make a much longer scarf. This is a 150 gram ball of James C. Brett, and I haven't quite used it all up, but I've used a good majority of it up, and you can see that just keeping going, this has made a really lovely size scarf, and actually the width of it is really nice as well, and that's in a DK weight. I've not washed or blocked this at all yet. This is literally straight off the hook, just to show that example, but I'm going to be blocking it and washing it, and yes, this is really lovely, and adding some tassels on the end. So that's another option you've got too. So there's loads of different options, and I hope that the pattern enables you to feel that you could have a little experiment and play with and do some different things too. I'd absolutely love to see what you do, so please do share with me if you get the opportunity to take a photo of your creations and tag me on Instagram, suzannebooth.creative. That will let me see what you've been up to, and I'll be absolutely delighted to see your creations. So thank you again for downloading the pattern and for giving it a go. I welcome any feedback or any thoughts that you think about it, and as I said, please do share your pictures with me. I'd love to see what you make. Enjoy the Sodbury Yarn Over. You're in for a treat. You're going to have a fabulous time. I hope you enjoy all that lovely yarny goodies and come away with some beautiful things to help you make some lovely yarn creations.